What is going on, everybody? Football right around the corner. That means only one thing. DFS OG survived the cuts down to 53. We are back once again. Another season with my boys, Head Chopper and Notorious, breaking everything down in this episode. Going to take a look at some futures, some player props we like, couple fantasy takes. Nothing too serious. Shoot the shit here, get caught up with my guys. Been a while. And then we'll be with you each and every week, breaking down the schedule of games with some of our favorite bets, some thoughts on the DFS slate, as we have always done. So welcome in to the show. Let me get to my guys here. It's been a while since I've gotten to chat with them. So excited to catch up, talk some football. Noto, let's start with you, buddy. Know you've been busy with golf. As always, baseball is in the dreads of summer, we'll call it here. We're turning the calendar over, but it's football season, baby. How we doing?
Yeah, doing good. Great time of year. I never understood why parents got so excited when it was back to school season. But I get it now after having my little one with me at home every day in the summer. It's a little bit of a grind. Love him. But, man, get him back to school. So excited for that. Excited for football to start. And some personal news to relate this to fantasy football. I've hit the waiver wire. Mrs. Noto, no longer Mrs. Noto. So, talking to my agent. He says nobody's expressed any interest yet. He's hoping to get me back on the field here soon. So, new chapter in my life. Excited for football.
Oh, we got plenty of great OG's listeners here. So you never know. Maybe we can spark a romance here throughout the 18, 19, 20 weeks, whatever will be. Chop, my man, rocking the red Houston Cougars sweatshirt. Ready to rock here. Chop, how we doing, brother?
Doing very, very good. Very, very good, I guess relative to what it could be. But to touch on what Derek said about the school, there comes this point in time where, like, the kids get to be a certain age and going back to school is not really a good thing anymore because, during the summer, they're just doing their own. They're not like a burden anymore. They're in their own room. They're doing their thing. They're doing whatever they want to do anyway. They're not really bothering you. But then when they go back to school, all of a sudden you realize, oh, damn, now they're in those classrooms with those crowded classrooms. They're going to bring this stuff home. They're going to bring these viruses back home to me, man. So week one, man, we've only been to school for 1 week. This is like day 10. And I've already got one sitting out for a full week. He's already sick. So, and I just know it's a matter of time before I get it and everybody else gets it in the house. It's the kids, man, just crazy.
Yeah, mine have not started yet. Mine are after Labor Day. So we're a late start. I know a lot of people have been back for a week. Like you said, Chop, hell, some have been multiple weeks here, mid-August. But Derek, I'm kind of with you. I don't know what I'm more excited for. My kids to be gone. Like they're just, I hear you, Chop. There's a lot of, we know you're the disease guy. You don't like all these diseases entering the house, but they're always around. And I love my kids if they're listening, which they're not. I love them to death, but it's nice to get a little breathing room once in a while. So Derek, more excited for the kid to be back to school or for football season starting?
Yeah, a little of both. And for me, I only have the one, so I don't have two that can keep each other busy. So I'm like his constant source of entertainment. So it can be tough at times trying to get work done. But we're back. NFL's back. We're good to go.
So how have things gone in between? Just a quick synopsis: baseball, golf, NBA. I mean, how has the DFS streets been treating you? The betting streets? How are things going there, Derek?
Yeah, golf's been good. Everything else has been pretty subpar, I would say, on the betting front, DFS front. But hoping for a good NFL year. It's been a while since I've had a big win there. So hoping to get on your guys' level this season.
We got to get on Chop's level. Guy wins $1 million every other week, seemingly. So we got some catching up to do here, Derek. Chop, how about yourself? Baseball, NBA, I know college football has kicked off. I know that's a specialty of yours. How have things been treating you?
It's the summer, man. It's become a pattern, where baseball's fine for the first couple months, but man, halfway through the summer, everything gets really boring really quick, and then you just kind of count down the days of football till football's here. So this is what it is. It's coming now, and I'm stoked, man. I'm rocking the red for U of H, and I can't wait to get to the game on Saturday, man. It finally, like every once in a while, they play in San Antonio, so I get to catch a game, and so that'll be this Saturday.
Now, Chop, I'd be remiss in doing our listeners a disservice if I didn't ask about the annual fantasy football league that you always talk about. Has that draft happened yet, or is that still coming? Is the league still alive? Who's our boy Derek? What the hell is that guy's name?
Zaz or
Zazzy.
No.
Shout out to
No.
our boy Zazzy. So, Chop,
no.
has there been a draft?
No, he was the betting guy, I think.
Oh,
Zazzy's not in. This is a Galveston league. This is not a Zazzy league. He's an internet guy,
He
but
still gets a shout out here on the show.
yeah. No, the draft hasn't taken place yet. It's usually the week right before the season starts. There's a little mix up. There's a little change up this year. Last year, some guy got a little mouthy. One of the guys got a little mouthy, and they booted him.
Oh,
He was in there for about 10 years, and they booted him. He went off the deep end, man, because he didn't like a rule change. So they booted him, and we brought back a guy who was with the league. Like, I'm talking about the first 3 years, and this league is 25 years old now. I think somebody said in the text chain is 25 years old. This guy was in the league the first few years, and then he just disappeared, man. I mean, literally, he just disappeared. Like the last I heard from him, he was going down to Alaska to cook food and like living the life or whatever. This was like 20 years ago. I thought he died. I thought he passed away, man. And then they said, well, we can bring back, I don't want to say his name because you never know. We can bring him back and he's ready to play again. I'm like, I thought that guy died, man. But he's back in the league now because the one guy got mouthy. So we're ready, man. I think we moved the draft to next Tuesday, getting right before the season starts. So I'm ready for it, man. I've been doing best balls all summer. I'm ready for it.
so is this like a Jock Peterson, Tommy Pham type of deal here, Chop? I mean, what's he mouthing off about here?
So we first of all these rule changes we do, we the day of the draft, we do all this. We cover all this stuff, right? And if you're not paying attention, that's on you, right? So then we get to the playoffs last year, and we had changed the format to like the lowest score gets, not head to head those first couple weeks. It's the lowest score because it's an odd number of weeks now with the the extra week they gave us. So it was like the four teams that make the playoffs, the lowest one after that first game gets booted, not head to head. Then the lowest score after the second game after the second week gets booted. He didn't like it. He didn't like it, man. So he just went on. He was just going crazy in the text changes, calling everybody names and saying how stupid the league was. And like, man, you've been around for 10 years and you were the one not paying attention. So you just burned that bridge, pal. So they said he's got to go.
That's to go. No. Any drafts for you? I know you've had a long time season-long league as well.
I mean, similar to Chop, we had some disruptions in the league in the offseason. So
your guys' leagues here.
Yeah, so there's a little group in our league that wanted a couple guys out for a long time. They've been trying to run it for a while anyway. Even though I'm the commissioner, I just don't really care that much about it. But anyway, they started their own league, so we started a different one. Got a bunch of my old friends from high school in this one. So our draft party is also Tuesday night. So yeah, it should be a good time. But I just have a hard time paying much attention to it.
Yeah, lots of drafts for your boy here. I'm in way too many leagues each and every year. It's hard for me to say no. Best ball streets, like you said, Chop. Underdog pulled out of Michigan, which was no good. I mean, I was down in Ohio and banging out drafts down there. Been a lot of DraftKings for me here, getting ready for the season. But guys, let's dive in. Again, just gonna go through some things here. No structure. Again, when you're following us each and every week, we'll be walking through the games with our favorite spread bets, money lines, totals. Maybe we'll run our competition back between the three of us. Gotten some questions about a listener league. As of now, no plans for that. Maybe we'll come up with some other kind of contest internally for the listeners. So we'll see what we can do there. But guys, let's dive in. Let's just start talking some win totals. I want to start in the AFC West. Guys, this division should be amazing. I mean, you got Kansas City. We know how good they are. The Chargers, maybe one of the most talented rosters in all of football. Denver brings in Russell Wilson. They got a huge total here. Vegas brings in Devontae Adams. A lot of excitement about that team. So, Derek, anything here? I mean, these games should be a ton of fun. But most of these teams, I mean, we're talking 10.5, 11 on Kansas City, 11.5 in some places. Chargers, 10, 10.5, 11. Denver in that same vein. Raiders down about 8.5 on their win total. Any thoughts here? Any leans here? Is this just a division everyone's going to beat up on each other?
Yeah, such a fun division, and one of those ones where it's hard to trust anyone for the win totals just because, like you mentioned, they're going to beat up on each other. Everyone seems a little bit better than they were last year, maybe with the exception of the Raiders. But, yeah, I mean, they could be good too. So, for me, I kind of like the winner of this division to potentially win the Super Bowl, whether that's KC or the Chargers. Not to spoil too much, I'll just get into my Super Bowl pick, and that's going to be the Chargers. I like that. They got Brandon Staley the second year, Justin Herbert, one of the better quarterbacks in the league. Think he's going to be a little bit better. Got a ton of weapons. Derwin James, going to be awesome on the defensive end. So assuming they don't shoot themselves in the foot like they do every year, I kind of like them at plus 1,400 to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'm very high on them as well. If there is a team in this division that I like, it is the Chargers. Can still get their team total around 10 in some spots, but the talent on this roster, it's a tough schedule for this division. In fact, Kansas City, toughest schedule in all of football, according to Sharp Football. So I kind of like the under on the Chiefs. They lose Tyreek Hill. We'll see what that means. They brought in Juju, MVS, Sky Moore. I mean, they're certainly got some options there, but I think they could struggle. You look at their schedule, very, very tough. So I like the under on the Chiefs, surprisingly. So, Chop, is that crazy? We never want to bet against Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, but I'm leaning under here on the Chiefs this season.
I don't think it's crazy. They showed some chinks in the armor last year. So I don't think that's crazy. And in fact, I think it's kind of a shame for the Raiders here that they're stuck in this division because I think they could make some noise otherwise. Like, I don't think they're going to be able to do anything in this division, but I kind of like the Raiders, man. I think they got a nice little offensive system working. I really think that Josh McDaniels is going to do really well in his second go-round as a head coach. But they're stuck here, man, because like Noto said, it's hard to pick against the Chargers any week. It's just going to be tough to pick against them. KC's still there, although I do think they fall off a little bit. The Denver Broncos, though, watch out. And we're going to see what Russell's made of. So I'm really looking forward to that. I think Russell has a lot in the tank, and I think Russell's going to do really well with Denver, and that team's going to do really, really well. So this thing is stacked, man.
Yeah, this division definitely going to be a lot of fun to watch. Again, tough schedules around. Even their out-of-division schedules are not easy. So really excited for this division. Let's go to the AFC, guys. Buffalo, obviously the favorite. I mean, this team is loaded up. Bring in Von Miller. Just how many wins can this team get, Chop? Do you like this over? It's usually not a great idea to bet the favorite to win the Super Bowl, but I mean, they got to be a team that you're looking at, willing to put some money on. Thoughts on how good Buffalo can be this season?
Very, very good if they keep taking the steps forward that they're taking. Now they're losing a couple of coaches, namely their offensive coordinator. That could be a big deal, but we'll see. And if it's not a big deal, then yeah, they're going to be in really good shape because this division is so weak that they should be able to grab home field advantage throughout the AFC playoffs. That's going to help them out quite a bit. Defense should be a little bit better than last year, and the offense, assuming that they can pick up the pieces without their offensive coordinator, should keep humming along. Yeah, they're in good shape here, man. They're the favorite for a reason, and it's tough to pick out a team right now that can beat them. But obviously, as the weeks go on, we'll figure it out. But this division in general stinks, man. I think Miami can be pretty good, but I think New England's going to take a huge downfall this year. I think New England's in for just a massive pitfall, and the Jets already getting beat up with injuries. Yeah, I think this division leaves a lot to be desired.
I'm with you. And I was just going to ask you about Miami. So you said there could be some promise there. I agree completely with what you said. The Jets are somewhat intriguing. We'll see with some of this young talent. Maybe it's too early. Maybe it's going to take a couple seasons. Maybe Zach Wilson is not the answer. We'll see what Flacco does here early in the season. New England, I'm in agreement. I just don't see it there with Mac Jones. But Chop, Miami, bringing in Tyreek Hill. You got Jaylen Waddle, Tua. It sounds like he's healthy here. Chase Edmonds, a guy that a lot of people are drafting in the mid rounds in their fantasy league. So is this a team you want to make a move on, or just leaving them alone? Buffalo's it for you here.
I think there's a move to be made for Miami, and flipping through scores and odds, like what the division. No, I'm not taking them to win the division. If you can find one where maybe they're a playoff team to make playoffs, I don't know. Let me see if we can pull it up and sort through there. They must be way down there to make the playoffs, something like that. I think they can make the playoff. I think the defense is going to be, the defense was okay. It's been okay the last couple of years. Defense wasn't the problem. It was the offense, namely the offensive line. They got a lot of weapons for Tua. If he's anywhere near worthy of that, draft pick that they took him at a couple years ago, this is the year to prove it. Also, you mentioned Chase Edmonds. I kind of like Raheem Mostert to be the guy this year in Miami. So I think there's some depth there in the backfield. I think they'll be able to run the ball a little bit more. New head coach who comes from a lineage of coaches that can run the ball really well. So I do like Miami to make the play. There's no way they can overtake Buffalo, though, I don't think.
No, that's not happening. So Miami plus 150 to make the playoffs on PointsBet. And you're seeing on our screen, scoresandodds.com. If you're not familiar, fantastic site, just so much information. And just this alone, the ability to compare odds across a bunch of different sportsbook, finding your best price. You'd be surprised some of the gaps that you see. And it's not only on futures, it can be on simple spreads in the NFL, getting from a 7 to a 6.5. That's the stuff that you can do here and dig in and look at some of the trends, the histories between teams, all these different drop downs we have, Super Bowl odds, division winners. So just a ton of information here. If you have not checked it out yet, head over to scoresandodds.com and look at it and dig in. There's so much stuff to look at. We'll be using it a lot here on the show this season. Derek, same questions for you. Thoughts on Buffalo? Can Miami make a run, get into the playoffs here at a plus number? Are you with us on the downfall of New England, and any optimism here on the Jets?
Yeah, I'm fine taking any and all Buffalo overs. The problem is you have to lock up your money for 4 or 5 months to bet them minus 240 to win the division, minus 140 to win over 11.5 games. If I'm locking up my money, for that long, I want a little bit more upside. So I probably wouldn't put my money on Buffalo. But I do think they win the division. My favorite bet is going to be the Patriots under their wins. They are at 8.5 right now. Just so many concerns coming out about Mac Jones and this offense. They lost Josh McDaniels. It sounds like Matt Patricia's been trying to call some plays, and that's not working. Who knows? Maybe they hand the reins over to Bill Belichick. But yeah, I'm with you guys on the Patriots. I like the under there. And one other note on scores and odds. These small edges that you can find by price shopping, they might not seem like much for one bet, but when you compound those over the course of an entire season, it really adds up. So definitely make sure to use that tool for all sports. It's one of my favorite, most visited pages that I have.
Yeah, you're doing your bankroll, your wallet a disservice if you're not shopping around. It's as simple as that on all of your bets. So I know some of you guys out there maybe only have 1 or 2 sports books. That's fine. A lot of people don't want 6, 7, 8 different options, but there's so many different free giveaways, deposit bonuses, new customer offers that you should be taking advantage of. We'll have a lot of those promo codes here as well and on Scores and Odds. So just a wealth of information. So just going to keep plugging that. Let's move, guys, let's talk about the AFC South. Obviously, the Colts, the headliner here, Matt Ryan, joining that squad. Huge year by Jonathan Taylor. The Titans in that division, number 1 seed in the AFC last season, but expecting them to take a step back. Then you got Jacksonville, Derek's squad, the Texans, a couple teams that have struggled traditionally. So, Derek, we'll stay with you here. Is this an easy hit the Colts? Do you think your Jags, they sweep out Urban Meyer, not to no one's surprise, and a lot of optimism about this team. And they spent a lot of money on a guy like Christian Kirk, but does Trevor Lawrence take the next step? So thoughts on your Jags, thoughts on this division overall?
Yeah, I'm still on this line from another podcast, but I can't remember which one it was to give credit to, but they were saying, Trevor Lawrence was a baby and he was being raised by a toddler in Urban Meyer last year, and that's just not going to work. So get rid of Urban Meyer. Got to think he takes a step forward. You got Etienne, coming back, going to have his, first action in the pros. You mentioned picking up Chris Kirk, Zay Jones. I think they're going to be a lot better. They are like the trendy pick right now, which I don't love. Anytime there's optimism around my team, I try to just ignore it. Keep those expectations low, and it's hard to be disappointed with your own team. But, I think the Colts kind of run away with this one. I think Matt Ryan's an improvement over Carson Wentz. I still like Frank Reich, and I think their defense is going to be good. It sounds like Shaquille Leonard's going to be back sooner rather than later, which is really good news for their defense. So I like the Colts here, but I don't mind dabbing a little bit into the Jags over on their win total.
And plus 450 to make the playoffs here. I don't think it's out of the question. I think it's unlikely. I don't think it's impossible. We'll say that. So
can they do it without winning the division? Because the AFC is so stacked. I don't know if they'll get a wild card.
That's a great question, because that AFC West, we know there's going to be multiple teams coming out of that division, most likely. So probably not. You would need the Colts to take a step back. Likely injuries would cause that. Chop, your thoughts here on this division, the Colts, the cream of the crop. I'm kind of pessimistic on Tennessee this year. I think you see them take a step back. I don't mind a bet against them making the playoffs or an under on their team total. Thoughts on that? Thoughts on Derek's Jags? Are the Colts that good? And are the Texans going to be able to put it together this year under Lovie Smith?
Well, I agree with you on Tennessee. I think they take a step back. So that's unfortunate for Soccer Dave, but I think that, just looking at them, Vrabel gets the most out of the guys, but they're really lacking on some things this year. So, and I do think Jacksonville's improved. I agree with that. I think Houston is sneaky improved. Does that mean they're going to finish above 500? No, but when we think about Houston, we're thinking about a terrible team. I don't think they're that terrible this year. I think they're actually halfway decent. I think they can be competitive. So I think it's a competitive division, but Indianapolis is the class of this thing. And I would, if you don't want to take the favorite, like Noto said, it's hard to take the favorite on futures like that. If you want to put the Colts down to win the AFC, I think they might be the second best team, second or third best. If things click the way I think they will with Matt Ryan, they may be the second best team in the AFC. They've built a good defense. It's steady over there. It's strong. A good offensive line. They run the ball with Taylor. He's in his prime, which is great for a running back. If Matt Ryan has anything left, which I think he still does, this team is really good. So I kind of like that Indianapolis AFC champion, as they're like the 10th team on or 8th team on the board, plus 1,300 I see them at on one of the side. I'd take a shot at that.
Yeah, I don't hate that. And looking at their win totals, again, just shows you shopping around. There's 9.5s, as low as 9.5 on FanDuel. Now you pay a minus 160 on that over. At BetMGM, they're at 10.5, so you get plus odds. So, depending on how confident you are, the Colts are going to win 12 games, then grab the plus money. But if you want to squeeze it down and maybe they only win 10, why not get under that 9.5 number, pay a little bit of juice? But I'm with you on Houston, Chop. Their win total 4.5 seems a little bit too low. We saw them stick in a lot of games last season and be competitive. We know Dameon Pierce, the story of fantasy circles right now. Davis Mills was not as bad as advertised. Cooks is solid, and Nico Collins takes a step. Can that defense hold things together? But 4.5 seems like one of the better bets on the lower end. Looking at some of these bottom basement dwelling teams, I don't mind taking a shot on Houston in that over 4.5 wins. So let's go to the AFC North. This one, there's kind of two favorites here, Baltimore and Cincinnati. Cincinnati obviously making that run to the Super Bowl, plus 170 here in DraftKings, plus 140 for the Ravens. Then you got Cleveland. We know their situation. Deshaun Watson out 11 weeks, and the Steelers expect to take a big step back, plus 1,000 to win the division. So, Chop, will stay with you. Cincinnati or Baltimore, you got a hot take that Cleveland or Pittsburgh are going to make a run here.
Yeah, well, I'll start off by saying I don't want to get into the actual, details or anything, but the Deshaun Watson thing is obviously a huge factor here. Like when they said 6 games at first, I thought Cleveland can win this division. And man, you don't want to see Cleveland in the playoffs if it plays out like that. And if Cleveland somehow finds a way to get through the first 12 weeks of the year, because he won't be able to come back till week 13. I think there's a bye week in there somewhere, week 12. If they can somehow be in playoff contention by the time he comes back in week 13, yeah, you're not going to want to face this team. I think their defense is loaded with, good pass rushing and some solid secondary pieces, big offensive line, good running game. Deshaun Watson will be the thing that makes these guys click. So curious on that, but missing the first 11 games or whatever, that's going to be tough. I think Cincinnati. I'm on an island here, but I think Cincinnati's just a tad bit overrated here by everybody out there. I appreciate what they did last year, but you look at that, like we're thinking of them the way we are because they made that run to the Super Bowl. Like they were so in each one of those games, they were so close to getting bumped out of there on the last drive of every game almost. Like obviously Kansas City could have beat them before they even went to overtime. Tennessee throws just the stupidest interception on their last drive that let Cincinnati win that game. The wild card game, the Raiders were driving down, on the last possession to possibly go in and win that game somehow. And that's like they got a nice little lucky run. I don't think they're as good as people are leading on. So I think they're a little overrated. I think Cleveland can make noise. Baltimore is going to be great again. I think Pittsburgh is very interesting. If they can figure out a way to stop the run this year on defense, I like the upgrade at anything would be an upgrade over what Roethlisberger's been the last 2 years. They got good receivers. They got a good running back. I think Pittsburgh this is a really good division too. Pittsburgh's a sleeper team, but yeah, man, if Cleveland can hang in there and be in playoff contention when Deshaun gets back, Cleveland can make some serious noise.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I mean, how convenient is it that he comes back against Houston, though? That's my question. How do they land on 11 games and then, boom, you get to come back. You play the Texans. You got to love the NFL creating that drama.
Is that what they wanted all along? Because,
of course.
Otherwise, why would you – I'm not trying to get into the specifics of his case, but why would you turn the process over to an independent judge and then that judge makes a ruling and you say, that's not what we wanted.
No,
well,
thanks.
if you wanted something in the first place, you might as well have just given it to him and not done this whole song and dance. But I guess that's what they wanted, the drama, man. They're trying to be more like the NBA, I guess.
I didn't understand that process either. Let's have somebody look over the case, and then Goodell's just going to make the final call anyway. Like, what's the point? So we'll see. Pretty easy schedule for Cleveland too, Chop. That could certainly help. I mean, they're a easy top 10 easiest schedule this season. So if they can survive, stay afloat, I don't hate taking a stab on them either. All of these teams have questions. I mean, Lamar Jackson, what's he going to do? Is he going to take another step? Baltimore not signing him to a deal. J.K. Dobbins not ready to go yet. You mentioned Cincinnati goes on this magical run. How many times have we seen a team do that and then fall off the next season? And everybody's writing off Pittsburgh. Look, Mike Tomlin has won every single year. So it's hard to just say they're going to be horrific or terrible. So, Noto, your thoughts in this division? This one's pretty intriguing. A lot of ways you could go with this division.
Yeah, definitely up in the air. I'll agree with Chop and you, Beer, that the Bengals just incredibly lucky last year. They didn't deserve to be in the Super Bowl. They could have been out in the first round. But their biggest weakness last year was their offensive line. They made big moves in the offseason, brought in Lyle Collins. I think they're going to be much improved there. You get Joe Burrow, who's just a proven winner at every level. Some of the best receiving weapons in the game. I like the Hayden Hurst pickup as well. So I actually like the Bengals here. They're over and under is at 9.5. I think they hit that pretty easily. So I do like the Bengals, even though the magical run is a negative somehow. It's hard for them to repeat that this year, but I think regular season they're going to be fine. And I don't mind the Browns call. I think that's certainly interesting. Jacoby Brissett, he's good at managing games, and that's really all they need him to do until Watson gets back.
All right, let's go to the NFC, and Chop, we'll save our teams for the end here. So we'll go to the NFC South. Tampa Bay, obviously, the big favorite to win this division. Once again, New Orleans, they're about plus 325 here on BetMGM. Then you got Carolina, Atlanta, down on the bottom. So, Derek, we'll stay with you. And I don't know about you, but I got a lot of concerns here with Tampa Bay. I mean, Tom Brady, another year older. The offensive line is in shambles. And what does Tom Brady hate? What is his kryptonite? Pressure on the quarterback. So I don't know how they're going to solve this. You have the Chris Godwin injury. Mike Evans is hurt. I know they brought in Russell Gage, Julio Jones, but I'm pretty pessimistic here. In fact, I think New Orleans could win this division. Yes, it's a new coaching staff. Yes, there's questions on Jameis Winston, but they bring in Jarvis Landry, Chris Olave. Defense should be solid here. So I don't mind a stab on the Saints here to win this division. Derek, thoughts here?
Yeah, I'm with you on Tampa Bay. For the Saints, my only concern is Sean Payton's gone. I don't know if the offense is going to be as good as it has in the years past, but to your point, they haven't been very good the last couple of years anyway. So yeah, maybe Jameis Winston takes that step forward. I like the Olave pickup. For me, my favorite bet in the division is going to be the Falcons over. It's at 4.5. They don't have to do much. I've always liked Arthur Smith as a offensive mind, and I think Mariota is going to be interesting. They obviously have Kyle Pitts, brought in Drake London. I think that's going to be interesting. Cordero Patterson is a guy that nobody saw coming last year, so I'm going to take the bottom of the barrel team to just do enough to cover their 4.5 win total.
Yeah, I don't hate that at all. I mean, one of these Carolina, Atlanta is going to be somewhat decent, and who knows? Maybe they make a run. Baker Mayfield, week 1 against Cleveland, more drama. But Chop, your boy Tom Brady. We know you're a big Tom Brady guy. So thoughts on Tampa Bay this season? Do you agree with Derek and I that maybe this is the year? I know we've been saying this for a decade, but a lot of question marks there with this Tampa Bay team.
Like these, I'm looking at the numbers on the screen, and that's got to be a joke. There's no way Tampa could be that big of a favorite to win the division right now. New Orleans is the best team in this division. I might have picked New Orleans anyway, even before the offensive line injuries have hit Tampa in the preseason. Yeah, I don't get that one. I think Tampa's in. Listen, Tom Brady was ready to get out of Tampa. I'm not saying he was ready to get out of football, but he was ready to leave Tampa for sure. They did all this retirement stuff, all these shenanigans. I guess he thought he was going to go to Miami with Sean Payton, start over there. So for whatever reason, he was content with not coming back to Tampa, even though for sure they wanted him. So something wasn't right there. And all that didn't happen. A month later, he's like, okay, I'm going to play. Well, so I don't know that his heart's in it. And what's going to happen those first few weeks when he realizes, oh my God, my offensive line stinks. I'm getting crushed up the middle here. He may just mail it in. I'm not saying he will. I'm saying, you know what I mean? I'm just hyperbole, but it may not. It may be a pretty rough season for him. So I think the Saints are the best team in this division. I really like it. If Jameis can stay healthy, I think Carolina is going to be sneaky. This is one thing I'm glad I can hit on right here. Baker Mayfield, since when do you give up on a number 1 pick that quickly? Sometimes a guy just gets stuck with bad coaches and bad players or just a bad organization. He came into the league with Hugh Brown as his head coach. Or no, Hugh Jackson. I'm sorry, Hugh Jackson. It was a rough go for him. He's been in a bad organization at first, and then he actually led them that one year. They looked like they were possibly could get out of the AFC. They made it won a couple games in the playoffs or what have you. Last year, total punt. I totally give him, I don't even count that against him. He was playing with a shoulder that probably should have been operated on. He probably shouldn't have been playing after that one play that messed him up. I think he's going to bring stability to this Panthers. I think the Panthers can be okay. Saints are for sure good. What if Tampa finishes 3rd in this division? I'm not saying that can't happen. I think it's a possibility, but I'm with you guys. I think Tampa takes a step back.
Their win total looks like 11.5 across the board for Tampa, minus 134 and that under at PointsBet. So if you're with us, I don't hate making that bet here. Saints trying to find their team total 8.5. Now that one seems low, Chop. I mean, you're telling me they can't win 9 games?
They bring a defense every year. They bring a good defense every single year. It's always been the court. And you remember last year, remember when we were doing this show last year after one of the holiday weekends, and I told you I I just needed the Miami defense not to score like 25 points against New Orleans that night. And they started some Ian Book. New Orleans started Ian
Yeah,
Book.
oh, yeah.
Like their quarterback play last year was so bad. But they always bring good defense, and they've got wide receivers, and they've obviously got Kamara, and their offensive line is fine. There's a lot worse in the league than what New Orleans is going to put out there offensive line. Like I think they're a good team, man.
Yeah, that one seems a little bit low. So that's one I like as well, along with them to win this division. So Saints, a team we all seem to like. All right, let's go to the NFC South, the NFC West, I should say, another division that looks to be loaded up. I mean, we got three teams that could all win this division. The Rams, defending Super Bowl champs, the 49ers. I know there's a lot of Trey Lance talk, so we could certainly get into that. Jimmy Garoppolo re-signed back with the team. The Cardinals, kind of the dark horse here, and get them as high as plus 400 at DraftKings to win this division. Seattle, I mean, if you guys are optimistic on Seattle, I'd love to hear that case here. But Chop, we'll stay with you. Any hot takes here in this division? I think any of those top three could win this division. So maybe it makes sense. Put a few shuckles on Arizona to win this thing.
Yeah, Arizona. I mean, the only team I don't like in there is obviously Seattle. I think they're in for a rough season without Russell. But yeah, I think Arizona's going to be fine. I think they're going to be, especially by the time they get Hopkins back, they're going to have a really good wide receiving core, like really good. So I think they can do some things. The 49ers, I like them. They make runs. I think they're being overvalued just a little bit much right now, but that's fine. I guess if I was, this probably isn't a hot take, but it might be considering what everybody says about Buffalo. I think the Rams, I'd give, like Derek gave his pick already. I say the Rams are going to go back to back on Super Bowl. I think they got better. Now, mentally, are they still hungry for the Super Bowl? That's the big question. Right? But as far as talent wise, I think they might have got better in the offseason than they were from that Super Bowl. Like adding Allen Robinson here, get ready. Allen Robinson, he's going to be a stud in this offense. So I definitely like the Rams. I don't know through 17 games if they win this division or not, but when they get to the playoffs, they're going to be very difficult to beat.
Their team total sitting about 10.5 at most books on the Rams. Cardinals down at 8.5. I don't mind the over on that one. And the Niners, you got anything from 9.5 with heavy juice in the over all the way to 10.5. So a big spread there. Seattle sitting at 5.5. I want to say I don't mind an under on Seattle either. That team is bad. I mean, Geno Smith, Drew Lock. I don't know how many games you think you're going to win. They're going to try to run the ball. The teams are just going to stack the box and make one of these horrendous quarterbacks try to beat you. So under for me on Seattle. I like that over on Arizona and a sprinkle on the division. Derek, thoughts here? You as optimistic as Chop on the Rams, the Niners, Cardinals. Can they make a move here? And any interest in Seattle?
I'm certainly as pessimistic on the Seahawks as you are, Beard. They're my favorite bet under for the win total, 5.5. You mentioned Geno Smith. I like the running backs a little bit in Penny and Walker, but outside of that, I think this team's going to be really bad. I think Pete Carroll's on his way out. So, yeah, I think this team's kind of in rebuild mode, and I think they mail it in this year. Plus money on the Rams is pretty good to win the division. I don't mind that one bit. I'm so happy for Allen Robinson. I don't know how many years we've been doing this show, but every single year we talk about how bad luck Allen Robinson has had with his quarterbacks. Now he gets to play with Stafford. I think he's going to have a big year, and it's really nice to see him get paid in the offseason, coming off of his worst year of his career. And the Rams still saw the talent. So I like that. If the Cardinals, if we knew Kyler Murray was going to be calling the plays, I would like them a lot more. I mean, if he just could call his own plays, I would like him a lot this year.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting for sure. So I want to get you guys' thoughts on Trey Lance. I know we're focused on totals, things like that, but I hear these Trey Lance for MVP bets being thrown out and all this stuff. So I'm intrigued with him in fantasy land. We know this guy is very inexperienced. We've seen the struggles last season when he got an opportunity, this preseason, all throughout the offseason. We're not bringing Jimmy Garoppolo back. Now suddenly he's back, Derek. Quick thoughts here on Trey Lance in general, in fantasy, anything you want to throw out there here on one of the most polarizing players in the league this season.
My take on the Jimmy Garoppolo restructure is that nobody gave him, a good enough offer. So I think they're just holding on to him and going to try to trade him mid-season. If somebody, one of the bigger teams has a quarterback go down, something like that. I just think, Lance is the future, at least for this year, unless he gets hurt. So Kyle Shanahan's always going to have a good rushing offense. He has so many weapons. I'm still buying the Lance hype, but maybe not as much as I was a few weeks ago. It sounds like they're going to keep him in bubble wrap the early part of the season.
He's got a nice early season schedule. I think they start in Chicago, and then I think it's Seattle in week 2. So he should get off to a decent start here. But Chop, you always got some good hot takes. Any thoughts here on this Trey Lance, Jimmy Garoppolo situation?
No, I'm not a hot take. I think Derek's on it. They just didn't get the offers that they wanted. But this is Trey Lance's team. I don't know if that's good or bad because I haven't seen enough of him. I think from a fantasy standpoint, he's going to be a gold mine most of the time because of the running. From a real life perspective, haven't seen him pass enough to know what he's really going to be about, if it's really going to help the team or not. So I have questions about that. But yeah, I kind of agree with what Derek said.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I like him for fantasy. Yet to be seen. What's he going to look like real life wise? Does it translate to wins? That's a team I'm just avoiding in some of these markets. Just too many questions. One thing on the Rams, second toughest schedule behind Kansas City this season. Again, according to Sharp Football, a lot of great information over there. So tough road here for this division. Just the out of division games are not easy. So let's go to the NFC North. My team here, Green Bay. Minnesota, a team I think is severely underrated right now. I actually like making bets on Minnesota to win this division and the over on their win total. So very optimistic on this team. You have everyone's favorite, Detroit Lions. Hearing so much Lions talk, obviously driven by a lot of the Hard Knocks, Dan Campbell. But I heard at one time, guys, this was the most bet future in all of the futures markets. The NFL is the over 6.5 on Detroit Lions. So thoughts on that. And then the Bears. This is an under I'm hammering. The Bears could be the worst team in football. The defense sucks. Fields will be intriguing for fantasy. He has nobody around him. I think Montgomery's overrated. Under all day on the Bears. So, Derek, we'll stay with you here. Do you agree on the Vikings? Does Green Bay just run away with this thing? Are you with everybody on the Lions? And are you with me on the Bears being terrible this season?
Yeah, I've learned the hard way of, not betting the team on Hard Knocks. It's so hard not to just watch it and get pumped for him, especially with Dan Campbell. I mean, players coach, doing the up downs with the team, getting everybody fired up. I don't know. I'm not buying the Lions this year. I think they'll be fun. I like Amon-Ra St. Brown and a lot of the pieces that they have, but he's still got Jared Goff. So that's enough for me to quiet down on the Lions. I'm with you on the Bears. I think they're one of the worst teams in the league. Their position players are just awful.
Yeah.
Fields looked good in the preseason, but it was against a bunch of backups. So I'm not putting too much stock into that. And yeah, love the Vikings. Love everything about the Vikings, really. They brought in Kevin O'Connell, right, from the Rams.
Yep.
I think that's going to be very good for the offense. They've been a run-heavy team for a long time. I think they're going to use a lot more play action. One of my favorite bets is Justin Jefferson, Offensive Player of the Year. I think that award pretty much goes to the best non-quarterback these days, and I think he could have a huge year. So I like Jefferson quite a bit. I like the Vikings quite a bit. And the Packers are always going to be good. There's just not a lot of value in that, minus 155.
Yeah, I agree. I think Green Bay will be fine. I think it'll be a different team fueled by their defense. Should be very good. I think you're going to see a lot of A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones. So I'm not expecting huge numbers here from Aaron Rodgers in this passing game. We know all the question marks, Alan Lazard, yada, yada. We don't need to get into all that. But Chop, Minnesota, do you agree with us? They seem undervalued here to make the playoffs. You still get them minus 105. So basically a coin toss, their win total. You can get at 9.5 in some spots. So that's the team that I'm really focused on here. I like the overs for Minnesota. What do you say?
I say, I think they're going to be much improved this year with the coaching change. That's a big deal. And maybe they can unleash Kirk Cousins now. I actually think Kirk Cousins is a pretty adequate NFL quarterback who just has been in some rough spots. And I was making a joke the other day with somebody about they just released Kellen Mond, former A&M quarterback. And because this one guy, he told me Kellen Mond's he's going to be the next Dak Prescott. And I was Now we fast forward a couple years, and Minnesota just cut him. And he was like, he made a good point. So, well, what do you expect? He was got coached by Jimbo Fisher in college, and now what's his name that just got fired from Minnesota here
Zimmer.
Zimmerman, Zimmer, whatever it is.
Zimmer,
yeah,
yep.
like that's just like it goes back to the Baker Mayfield thing. You just get bad coaching sometimes, and I think that's what Minnesota's been dealing with for a couple years now. So now they get to change this regime. I think it's going to benefit all these skill players for Minnesota, Cousins, the wide receivers, Thielen's being really slept on, I think, in the fantasy world already. I like this team. I agree with you guys. I actually probably have a little more love for the Lions. I think they're gonna like.
Not like loving the hard knocks life.
No, definitely not hard knocks. It's just but the way I saw them play last year, I mean, they were in a lot of games at field goals. Last play field goals cost them games. Multiple times. Like they played hard. They were in these things. I thought Jared Goff looked better last year than I thought he would look without McVay as his head coach. He looked better. He didn't look bad at all. They really started to get blown out of games when they lost Swift. They didn't have that running game, and they started to lose all their wide receivers down the stretch. So they've got a pretty good wide receiving room right now. I think. I don't even know if their number one draft pick plays anytime soon, but I think it's still improved. And I think the defense, like Aiden Hutchinson's very interesting on defense. What if he's, and I'm not just saying this because he's white, but what if he's the next Bosa brother? These guys get after it off the edge, man. These tall, athletic guys like that. So defense could be good, offense could be fine, and I think this team could be okay. Now we didn't talk about the Packers. I'm interested to see what the Packers do with their wide receivers this year. So that's going to be the thing, but I actually think they go to more two running back looks, and I think they pound it, and they do a lot of good there. So I still think they're the team to beat here. It's just a matter of can they get over the hump in the playoffs.
Yeah, quick take. I think Allen Lazard will be the number one, which is not a hot take. I don't know that he's going to be anything close, and I know he's not going to be anything close to Devontae Adams. But when you're talking Aaron Rodgers, does he like you? Does he like throwing you the ball? Does he trust you? Okay, they're in a good spot. He trusts Allen Lazard. I think there's a lot of hype on Romeo Doubs coming out of Nevada, who is pro ready. I think he's going to be better than Christian Watson, who they drafted much higher. But Rodgers trusts Randall Cobb, so he's going to see the field. What does Sammy Watkins give you? Probably a big week one, like we've seen in the past, and then he disappears. But Chop, I agree. It's going to be a lot of Aaron Jones, a lot of A.J. Dillon. Trust this defense. It's going to be a different team. So the Lions, I don't disagree with you. It's just not a bet I want to make. The number feels about right. 6.5. They won 7-8 games. I don't think we're surprised if they won, 5 or 6. I don't think it shocks us. So I'd much rather go over on Minnesota, under on the Bears. Chop, you didn't give a Bears take. Are you with us on the under? Who's worse? Let's go through the bottom feeders here. We got Houston, Chicago, Seattle. I won't even put your Jags in there, Derek. They got them at 6.5 wins. So those three, which is the worst? Which is the easiest bet of the three, Chop?
Yeah, Chicago's probably the worst team in football this year, all around. They got a nice quarterback. I think Fields has potential. What is he throwing to? What are you giving him to throw to? Nothing. And then what are you giving him to protect him just a little bit on the offensive line? Nothing. It's just really bad. So yeah, and I'd also, if things don't work out well with their defensive line, I'd throw Washington in that mix too. I think Washington has the potential to be, because Carson Wentz is, he's bad.
We're about to talk about them, but if you're a big Kellen Mond guy like Chop is, we had some news today. Did land with Cleveland, so interesting there. And then one quick note here: Jaylen Reagor traded from Philadelphia to Minnesota. So KJ Osborne, a guy I like deep in drafts, a guy that showed some things last season, but maybe Reagor gets it going here. High draft pick just never clicked.
What did they get in return for him?
A couple picks, like a 4th and a 7th, I believe. Wow. So not a bad return. Yeah, so Minnesota clearly sees something here, and maybe it's Adam Thielen insurance. The guy's not getting any. He's our age, running around out there still. So don't hate the reclamation project there on Jaylen Reagor. All right, Chop, let's talk your division here, the NFC East. Cowboys are the favorite here, but we got to talk about the injuries on the offensive line, your concern there, Jerry Jones' stubbornness to make Ezekiel Elliott the focus of this offense. I mean, you spent all that money on him. I understand that. Is Zeke washed, Chop? Are you optimistic on this is your team? I want to give you the floor here. There's a lot of people loving what they're seeing with the Philadelphia Eagles right now. So open this up. Philly, Dallas, do the Giants potentially make a run here? And you're clearly not a fan of Carson Wentz in Washington. So let's start with your Cowboys here. What are we thinking?
I would say that the Cowboys are. I mean, I get what the perception, but there's a piece of me that thinks that this is like a totally. I don't want to say a year you punt, that they're going to punt, but they're okay not doing all that well this year. I think they're setting up a lot of stuff for next year, salary cap wise, and all that. I think they're gonna. This is it. We know this is Mike McCarthy's last year. He'd have to win a Super Bowl to come back, and that's not going to happen. Yeah, I think they're setting up next year. Let's bring in Sean Payton. Plenty of salary cap. That's why we're making the moves this year that look really fishy, and we're not replacing those guys. Like, you let Randy Gregory go at the last minute, you didn't replace him. You didn't replace La'el Collins, or you're willing to let him go even though you really didn't have to. Same thing with Amari Cooper and stuff. Like, I think they're setting up for next year. So because of that, I think they're more than willing to just, they'll try. Obviously, they're going to try. And if things break right for them, then good. But I think they're okay not doing particularly well this year. That's why I look at the line here on this division. This should be the Tampa Bay line, where Philly is minus 275 to win this division and Dallas is plus like 300 or something. Like, Philly is the best team in this division. To me, it's not even particularly close. They've gone into this offseason making every move to get better this year and to win this year. Dallas has not. Dallas has done the opposite. They've made moves this year for the future to open up cap space for next year. So, and what if the whole Elliott thing is, let's ride. We're gonna pay Elliott $30 million this year, and we can't get out of it, even if we cut him. That's the whole thing. You can't cut him and get out of that. So you might as well keep him. What if it's, let's just ride Elliott and save Tony Pollard for next year so he doesn't get hurt? Who knows? I don't know what's fine, but the Eagles are the best team. So Eagles should win this thing going away. When I looked at it a couple of weeks ago, I said I counted probably 12 games they could realistically win, the Eagles. So I'm hammering those overs, and they've only made moves since then to be better. They just acquired a really versatile secondary piece yesterday from New Orleans because New Orleans wasn't willing to pay them. So Eagles are good. Cowboys are the second best, but they're willing to punt this year and see where the chips fall, and then regroup next year with a big year. Washington is terrible. I think Carson Wentz is just an awful quarterback. Giants are going to get better, but I just don't think it's their year to compete here.
Yeah, the Giants kind of feel like the Lions. Like, I think they'll take steps, but I don't think you're going to see a drastic improvement. Obviously, Daniel Jones, we'll see if he's the guy or not. Saquon Barkley, can he stay healthy? But all kinds of injuries in that receiver core. So are you hammering the under on the Cowboys, Chop, as far as the win total? Philly, 9.5, I agree. I like the over there. That's pretty much across the board. Dallas, you get anywhere from 9.5 to 10.5, all different numbers across the board. So I know it's your team, so you generally don't want to bet an under on your own team, but we're here to make money, man. So you hammering that under on I haven't heard that, Chop, that and it makes sense. I mean, I had Sean Payton in my head that's going to be the move. If I could bet that right now, I certainly would. Mike McCarthy, we know, is not a great NFL head coach, but are you hitting that under on your team then?
When I sat down there and looked at their schedule, I counted right around, like, I think the number's perfect, 9 to 10 wins. I think they can get, only because I've personally got them winning 4 games in the division, 2 against Washington and probably 2 against the Giants. I just don't think those teams are going to be all that competitive this year. And they've got some other games they can definitely win. So, I think that number is right there, man. I don't really have a lean on that. I think to look at the division and say that Dallas is going to beat Philly. Like Philly's built for this regular season. Don't get me wrong. When Philly gets to the playoffs, they will get exposed because of their quarterback. But for the regular season, it doesn't work like that. Regular season, they're going to roll through some teams. So I like the division bet for Philly. I like the over there. But the Cowboy wins total, I think, is right in line. I still think because the schedule is pretty easy, I think they could still get. I mean, it's not like they're just totally like, oh, we're going to lose. They've got Dak Prescott back there, and he's got some weapons. And I know Tyron Smith is out now, and that hurts, but you kind of expect Tyron Smith to miss a bunch of games these days. Like it was just a part of the deal. So they're still going to be okay. And the big X factor here is, can their defense be better than last year? Because if their defense actually moves up in the rankings, if they're a better defense, then they can win. They can win 10 games. But there are a lot of ifs.
My question on the defense, and it's more of a statement, they were fueled by turnovers. I mean, they caused a lot of turnovers that really got them to where they were. I'm not questioning the talent there, but it's hard to replicate that year over year. So one other thing, this division, very easy schedules. Chop, you mentioned it. In fact, the Giants have the easiest schedule. Philadelphia second. All of these teams in the top 10 as far as easiest schedule goes. So if you are thinking an over on any of these teams, that certainly helps the cause. Derek, your thoughts here? Cowboys versus Eagles. Can the Giants jump up there? Does Washington belong in that list of some of the trash we talked about earlier?
Yeah, you guys covered everything with the Cowboys and Eagles perfectly. I made one division bet, and it was on the Eagles. That's the only one I have locked in right now. And then I was going to bring up the turnover thing with the Cowboys. Yeah, they forced 34 last year, the most in the NFL. Got to think that regresses a little bit. So, well, with both you guys on both those teams, the other thing I wanted to add was the Giants, brought in Brian Daboll. I think they're going to be interesting. If you want a comeback player of the year, I like Saquon Barkley. If he stays healthy, I think he'll get a lot of votes in that. Maybe even Daniel Jones, too. I mean, he's one of those guys that good streamer for DFS because we know the ceiling's there. The floor is obviously really low. But I think this will be a fun team to watch this year, assuming, who knows what happens with these receivers, Galladay and Tony. Maybe Wendell Robinson's the guy there in New York. But interesting division, but I really like the Eagles.
Yeah, as far as those Giants, I love Tony and Wandale. I mean, if they are healthy, it will be fun to watch. I think Galladay's washed, so that Shepard coming back, we'll see. But interesting there, no doubt. With Daboll coming in, like you mentioned, that's a team that'll be fun to see. Do they take the step? Do they not? And have to move on from Daniel Jones? But love Barkley as well. So a lot of positives here with the Giants. All right, we're coming up on an hour. Don't want to go too long here, guys. Do you have anything else you want to throw out there? Prop-wise, Super Bowl-wise, player props. Derek, anything else that you want to add here before we sign off here for this week?
No, I think I covered pretty much all my bets for the year.
Anything else you're thinking about in this market, player props, Super Bowl, anything else?
No, I'm not a big futures guy. That's my opinion was what I gave. I'll say this much. If you want like comeback player of the years or something like that, I'm looking at my underdog numbers right now, and I've done a whole bunch of drafts here over the summer before I started to get burnt out, man. It gets a little old after a while. 78% of my teams, I have Chase Claypool drafted. I didn't even know it was that high, but I got a lot of Chase Claypool. I think he's in for a big year this year.
There you go. Bet you some Chase Claypool future, 78%. Shot. That's a lot of Chase Claypool. So, well, thank you everybody for listening. We are glad to be back again. We'll be joining you every single week, breaking down all the NFL games from a betting aspect. We'll add some DFS thoughts in as well. So excited for another season with these guys breaking down football every week here on RotoGrinders. Again, check out scoresandodds.com. Thank you so much for listening. For Noto, for Chop, I am Beer. We are the DFS OGs. Salut. We'll talk to you next week.